I'm going to use this under the Fair Use Act, and this is just a secondary video to complement my very last video about Trump pardoning the January the 6th rioters. So, and these were people that supported him. So this first video is going to be just a snippet of his speech from January the 6th, where he was egging on the people to go down to the Capitol. But I want you to listen closely to what he says about how he will be with them. And in fact, he was not with them. He went and hid himself away with his security guards because he knew what he had encouraged these people and what was going to happen as a result thereof.
This egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
So there you have his January, and that's just a small fragment of the antagonistic behavior that occurred. But I want to point out that he clearly told his supporters he was going to be there with them and realized that he was not. That is one thing that his supporters realized he was lying about, and when they started realizing his deceit. So here is the speech he gave on January the 13th, just 1 week later, about those same supporters.
About the troubling events of the past week. As I have said, the incursion of the U.S. Capitol struck at the very heart of our republic. It angered and appalled millions of Americans across the political spectrum. I want to be very clear. I unequivocally condemn the violence that we saw last week. Violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country and no place in our movement. Making America great again has always been about defending the rule of law, supporting the men and women of law enforcement, and upholding our nation's most sacred traditions and values. Mob violence goes against everything I believe in and everything our movement stands for. No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence. No true supporter of mine could ever disrespect law enforcement or our great American flag. No true supporter of mine could ever threaten or harass their fellow Americans. If you do any of these things, you are not supporting our movement. You are attacking it, and you are attacking our country. We cannot tolerate it. Tragically, over the course of the past year, made so difficult because of COVID-19, we have seen political violence spiral out of control. We have seen too many riots, too many mobs, too many acts of intimidation and destruction. It must stop. Whether you are on the right or on the left, a Democrat or a Republican, there is never a justification for violence. No excuses, no exceptions. America is a nation of laws. Those who engaged in the attacks last week will be brought to justice. Now I am asking everyone who has ever believed in our agenda.
So you heard it out of his own mouth just a week, not even a full week after he encouraged those riots to happen, his supporters to march on the Capitol. Not even a week later, him condemning those same people that he incited and then telling them that they're going to be held accountable. That was very clear that he was saying that they would be brought to justice. Listen to that again. And this was his speech from January the 13th of 2021.
a justification for violence. No excuses, no exceptions. America is a nation of laws. Those who engaged in the attacks last week will be brought to justice. Now I am asking everyone who...
There you have it. He was throwing his own supporters under the bus. And that's when they realized, the Proud Boys and these other ones that I warned ahead of time, that's when they realized that I was right in what I was warning them about Donald Trump. And see that he has lost that base. But realize this was the video that I shared from earlier today, my very last video. So what this is a prime example of how the serpent talks. You know, the serpent has a forked tongue. He speaks with a forked tongue. So January the 6th, he was encouraging people to march on the Capitol and incited that violence. But then January the 13th, he's throwing those same supporters under the bus, saying they will be held accountable. And listen to this from just the other day.
If I run and if I win, we will treat those people from January 6th fairly. We will treat them fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons because they are being treated.
He lies just like any other politician because he is and has always been a politician. That's why he's attended all their events, the DNC parties he's attended since he was in his 30s. And you can fact that, check that. He's always been a Democrat. He's always attended the Democratic National Conventions and all of their little events that they have held. You can fact check every bit of that. He was always an implant. He is the serpent, the great deceiver, the one that speaks with a forked tongue. But I think now, luckily, people are waking up and realize most of his base, his strong base, has seen who he truly is and realizes that he speaks with the forked tongue of the serpent. He lies out of both sides of his mouth, only to divide and conquer. He encourages violence one minute, then condemns it the next minute, and then says how he's going to pardon these people the next minute. Lies upon lies upon lies upon lies. He's a habitual liar. All he's doing is what's called political theater. He is propagating lies to rally a base, but he's lost most of that base because they've seen who Donald Trump really is. He is the serpent, the great deceiver, the Democrat implant that was sent to infiltrate the Republican Party, to divide and conquer for the Democrats, for all of his fellow Democrats. God bless.